Hey, 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 there's that sound. We love that sound. That sound says we got breaking news. Headlines. Today's breaking news is about a woman named Laura Behrens Wu.
Mr. Producer, I'm supposed to wake up. Who is that?
I'm glad you asked. And why Laura Behrens Wu makes millions and you don't? Well, let me tell you about Laura. Laura was born in 1992 in Germany. Her father was a diplomat. Therefore, he traveled a lot. And Laura grew up in Germany, China, Ecuador, and the United States. So she moved around a lot. And since Laura had a younger sister, she took it upon herself to assume a leadership role in the family as a good example for her younger sister. Well, Laura went to Harvard and graduated. Great example. And after graduating from Harvard, Laura didn't know what she wanted to do. But one thing she was sure about, she did not want to be an entrepreneur. Okay. So forward now to 2013, and Laura is now attending a master's program in Switzerland. And as she calls it, she is stuck there. What do you mean stuck? She did not enjoy being there at that school. She didn't like the master's program, but she didn't know what else to do. So then just by chance, Laura met a person at some event, I guess in Switzerland, from a Silicon Valley incubator. They sat down and she told him about her unhappiness at this master's program at this wonderful school in Switzerland. He listened. He says, hey, Laura, why don't you try something really new? She said, like what? He said, I'm from Silicon Valley incubator. She says, how about if I try to find you a summer intern job at a startup in Silicon Valley? She says, oh, okay. What have I got to lose? Well, it wasn't too long after that conversation that Laura was offered a summer internship at a startup in Silicon Valley. Now, you could say that Laura was at the right place at the right time, and I know that's part of it, but here's the other part of that sentence. Laura did not shy away from taking that opportunity. Laura jumped at the chance. She says, yes. She thought anything's got to be better than this master's program I'm at in Switzerland. Plus, if she didn't like it, she always had the option to return to school back in Switzerland. So Laura moves to Silicon Valley from Switzerland, and she starts her technology career as a summer intern at Silicon Valley financial technology startup called LendUp, L-E-N-D-U-P, all one word. Laura got there, and she was immediately in awe of the fast-paced culture of working at a startup. She loved it. She loved it. She loved it so much that she says, I'm not going to leave. This is awesome. I don't want to go back to school. And she officially dropped out of the master's program. She says, hey, I'm out of here. Give my spot to someone else. Laura was now fully committed to what she was doing in Silicon Valley. And at LendUp, remember, she was just a summer intern. Laura took every opportunity available to her to do extra work. And she worked hard to make the most of each opportunity. She was obsessed with this LendUp. Then the inevitable happened. Laura became so fascinated with LendUp, this startup, that she says, you know what? I want to start my own startup. Remember, she didn't want to be an entrepreneur? Now she can't wait to be an entrepreneur. So Laura had a best friend named Simon, and they got together, and Laura says, hey, I got some ideas. Here's what I want to do. Here's what I learned so forth. What do you think we should do? They got their heads together and says, you know what? Let's open up our own e-commerce store on something called Shopify. She says this is going to be a marketplace for emerging designers and artists from around the world, but Laura and Simon would help them tell their stories.
Kind of like Heather.
There you go. But before Laura would open up her e-commerce store, she became good friends with the CEO of LendUp. And she approached him and with her startup idea and asked for his advice. He listened intently, then said the 3 words that every entrepreneur should adhere to. And here's what he said: Laura, whatever business you want to start, you make sure that you offer painkillers, not vitamins. In other words, those were the 3 words, by the way, painkillers, not vitamins. In other words, offer something that people can't live without, like a painkiller. Don't offer something that is a nice to have, but not a must have, like a vitamin. Laura thanked him for his advice profusely, and then she ignored his advice. Now, Laura knew that her e-commerce store was not something new. It was not innovative, and it had been done many times before. But Laura and Simon wanted to start working on something. So while she was still an intern, 21-year-old Laura started her side hustle, the e-commerce store, offering vitamins, not painkillers, because she thought it would be easy. She said, it's a no-brainer. But it was while working on her e-commerce store that Laura discovered her painkiller. Let me explain. Her e-commerce store was doing pretty good. She had orders coming in every day, daily orders, which meant that Laura had to make daily trips to the post office to ship the orders. And that is when Laura discovered that shipping her orders was very confusing and expensive, both in terms of time and cost. She says, you know what? For e-commerce stores like mine, of which there are many, because it's Shopify, right? Shipping really sucks. Laura saw this as her painkiller business opportunity. After discussing her revelation with her partner Simon, they closed their e-commerce store and started a new company called Shippo. Hippo with an S in the beginning, Shippo. Shippo is a technology company. Shippo is an API that connects customers, e-commerce stores like hers, marketplaces, and platforms to the network of all the different shipping providers. But for users of this API, it gives them access to all the shipping providers. It helps them optimize their shipping providers, which ones they want to use, and helps them get shipping labels and also track the orders. In other words, Shippo takes the pain out of shipping, thus the painkiller. Great, Laura, but there's one big problem. You need money to do this. Big problem. Laura and Simon were first-time founders. They had no track record of successfully running any kind of a business. She was 21, and he was about the same age. They had no experience raising money from venture capitalists. But you know what they had? They had a pain-killing idea. And since neither Laura or Simon had any savings, they had to go to investors to put money into Shippo, or they would give up their pain-killing idea. Laura wasn't about ready to quit. So Laura pitched Shippo to 125 investors. 125. Laura was rejected 115 times, which means that Laura was able to raise $2 million from 10 investors with no track record. Pretty impressive. She was obsessed. She was committed. She believed. She was proud. All those things that we talked about in our Thursday morning meetings. Shortly after starting Shippo, they were growing at a 40% week-over-week rate. Shippo was a winner. You know what happens when you're a winner? VCs contact you and say, hey, Shippo, can we give you some money? So Laura was able to raise another $7 million from other VCs. Now the Shippo, I call it the Shippo platform, does much more than just shipping. because there are many that do that. Shippo helps her clients become shipping experts. It allows them to turn their shipping department from a cost center to a competitive advantage. As she said in a recent video, shopping carts are abandoned many, many times because of the shipping cost and or time. She took care of that. And their clients be able to become shipping experts without investing a lot of time because Shippo did all the work for them. Today, 4 years after founding Shippo, 4.5 years, Shippo now has 75 employees, serving over 15,000 clients, shipping millions of packages to and from 196 countries. Shippo gets fee for every time an item is shipped. She has raised over $30 million, and her revenues are increasing 70% year over year. Not bad for someone who left graduate school in Switzerland to take a summer intern job at a startup in Silicon Valley.
And never wanted to be an entrepreneur.
And never wanted to be that was the last thing. Her dad was a diplomat, business people, those capitalists. Plus, he was from Germany. Well, he was located in Germany when she was born. So look at that. I came up with 4 small business lessons from Laura Behrens Wu. And these are in Laura's own words. Number 1, she says, the most important decision for every wannabe entrepreneur is to just get started. Start your startup. Heather, you did that.
I'm pointing to Heather.
You did that, Heather. Congratulations. She says, there's no need to overthink. She says, you don't need a grand idea. Just start working on something, and eventually you'll find the right problem to solve, which was shipping. Lesson number 2. After you start your startup, one of the most important traits for any founder is determination. She said, from the outside, startups look like overnight success and that everybody is crushing it. That is far from the truth. You know what startup success is? These are her words. It's a roller coaster with exhilarating ups and terrifying downs, and the ride never stops. I love that analogy. She says there's no magic formula for successful entrepreneurship. And there's no such thing as overnight success. It takes a lot of hard work. It means being persistent and standing up again after you fall. She says, I warn you about startups. They move fast and change happens quickly. You better acquire the ability to learn fast and keep up with the changes. Lesson number 3 from Laura Behrens Wu. She says, be authentic. Be proud of who you have become. She says, be unapologetic about who you are. I'm looking at you again, kid. Okay? There's so many expectations of what a perfect founder should look like. And Laura wanted to be Steve Jobs or Mark Zuckerberg. And she admits that, which was ridiculous, as she says, because I'm Laura. So I became proud of just being Laura. And I love this second. She says, you know what being unapologetic means? That you don't have to work with everyone. She says, it is better to have a hole in your company than an a-hole in your company. I love that line. She says, it's your startup, it's your culture, it's your business. You decide who you choose to work with you. And lesson number 4, and you're going to get sick of hearing this, Heather. Painkillers, not vitamins. She says, solve a real problem. Don't just offer something that is nice to have. People chase painkillers. People are chased by vitamins. You want people to call you. And that's why Laura Behrens Wu makes millions and you don't. That's it.